Hi everyone from the Clifton and Allera Parish and anyone else who is choosing to tune in to this. This video is going to be the first in a weekly series of Bible studies to help us to continue to grow in faithfulness during this crisis. In this series, we're going to be walking through the book of 1 Peter, a letter that has a lot to offer us in the circumstances that we're facing. We're also going to be sending out a transcript of this study with some discussion questions and prayer points for you to go through if you want, and which is an excellent opportunity for each of us to call a friend and talk through the questions, to pray together, and to be an encouragement to each other. So if you do want to receive this email with all the questions and prayer points, please contact us through the Facebook page and we'll add you to the email list. Well, I said before that 1 Peter has a lot to offer us in this bizarre time. So in this video, I'm going to do a brief introduction to the letter and how it does speak to us in this time. So 1 Peter is a letter written most likely by the Apostle Peter in the middle of the 1st century AD. And it was addressed, as we read in the very first verse, to Christians in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. So all areas in what is now known as modern-day Turkey. If we skip from the beginning right to the end of the book, in chapter 5, verse 12, we read the purpose of the letter. Peter says, "I have written this short letter to encourage you and to testify that this is the true grace of God. Stand fast in it." So Peter is writing to Christians spread out in these cities, people who he probably has some relationship with, to encourage them as they face trials and persecution because of their faith. And he encourages them in three ways. He wants to remind them of their new family identity as the people of God. He wants to help them see their suffering as a way to bear witness to Jesus, and he wants to help them focus their hopes on the future return of Jesus. Now, I know we're not facing the same circumstances as these Christians were, but there are some similarities in our experience. For example, right now, some of us might be experiencing some psychological pressures, the weight of social exclusion or social isolation, or things like a pull to return to a former way of life, which for us might look like a pull to being distracted by things like Netflix, by social media, by things that don't nourish us. So yes, we're not facing the exact same type of trials, and we're not in the same wilderness as these Christians were, but we're facing trials nonetheless. And Peter's encouragement in this letter really speaks to that. Peter's encouragement reminds us that we are too part of that same family of God as the believers who first read this letter. Peter encourages that we can use this wilderness period to bear witness to Jesus. And we can do that precisely because we have a future hope, because of the good news of the resurrection. And I think that is the core of Peter's encouragement in this letter. He sums it up as the true grace of God in chapter 5, but I think he spells it out best in verse 3 of chapter 1, where he says, "Blessed be God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. By his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." It is the good news of the resurrection of Jesus that gives us strength to endure the wilderness we find ourselves in. I've said before that it's kind of fitting that this crisis started for most of us during the time of Lent. And so now during Eastertide, let us remember with great joy the good news of Jesus' death and resurrection. And I pray that this will sustain us throughout. Amen.
Excellent. Well done, you.
That was good.